So we're going to take a look at how to adjust some of the lighting in a photograph. I purposely picked a photograph that's kind of hard to see the subject in. It looks kind of dingy. I want to fix it. There's a couple ways I could go about that. There's a couple wrong ways to go about that, but I still want to show you what these things do. So I'm going to go up to Edit. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go to Image. And I'm going to go to Adjustments because I am adjusting things. The first one and the most obvious one would be Brightness and Contrast. If I come over here, if I bump my brightness up, the image gets, shockingly, brighter. And I can turn my contrast up too. Contrast is how much do things stand out from each other. It gets rid of some of those in-between tones. So that's what brightness and contrast do. If I were really trying to fix this photo for realsies and not showing you things, I would probably start with the just the brightness. So I'm going to go back in. I'm under adjustments. Now let's talk about levels. I have been talking in your prior art classes about shadows, midtones, and highlights. This is why they show up everywhere. So taking a look at this little window that pops up, there's a very interesting set of mountains here. These are the different levels of the lights and darks of your picture. If you come over to this slider and push it this way, watch what happens. It's going to get darker. It's going to bring up the levels of the blacks and darks in your picture. If you do the same thing, if you bring the white one this way, it's going to push more of the whites in your levels higher. Now that's almost eye blinding. This one in the middle pushes your midtones. Everything else that's not super white or super dark. Actually, that did a really good job of fixing it too. You can see the color of Emma's coat now. Emma is my dad's dog. You can even kind of see her pink collar, and you can see the definition of the water better. So it's going to pain me to hit this, but I'm going to hit cancel. It goes back to it. It's underexposed. Speaking of exposed, let's talk about exposure. Exposure is a very strong setting. If you are more interested in photography, as you get older, you're going to learn more about this. Exposure is how much light is let into the camera lens. So if I crank up the exposure, watch what happens. Only Emma's left, and that kind of hurts my eyeballs. Offset, I'm not quite actually sure what that does, but I don't like it. And we're not even going to mess with gamma correction, but exposure is how much light. Just remember, if you are exposed to the sun, you're going to get sunburned. Last but not least, we're going to take a look at curves. Curves is an interesting one. It functions a lot like levels, except you're dragging a line around. So watch what happens if I just move this down. Closer, farther down, it gets dark. Up, gets light. And that was just dragging the middle. You can drag different parts of the curve to get different results. This one's pushing away from those browns, so it's probably editing the browns. Push this up if I wanted just like a silhouette. Now, when you're photo editing, guys, you don't want any of these major extremes. You don't want that. It's not what we're after. It's a pretty crazy curve. So I can also do auto, which the computer will try to fix it for me itself, but I don't want auto. So in this case, best solution would be mess with the levels or brightness and contrast.